Human behavior operates on a predictable architecture. You can intentionally rewire it using a dual framework. The first half targets your internal hardware, reprogramming your own neurobiology. The second half targets the software, bypassing the cognitive filters of everyone else. Mastering human behavior relies on strict structural engineering, not raw willpower or natural charisma. Depression and anxiety occur when a feedback loop fails. The thinking prefrontal cortex loses its ability to regulate the feeling limbic system. You can override this. 15 minutes on a stationary bike increases emotional control activity and raises serotonin levels. Environmental inputs trigger similar responses. In a Pittsburgh hospital, spinal surgery patients moved to sunlit rooms developed a higher neurological tolerance for pain and required less medication. Creating an upward spiral requires small, targeted physical inputs. These specific actions exploit neuroplasticity to reverse the brain's polarity. Chronic stress carries a steep biological penalty. It physically degrades executive function. Researchers in Portugal used fMRI scans to observe the brains of medical residents before and after 3 months of intense board exam preparation. The scans revealed that chronic stress physically shrinks the orbital frontal cortex, the center responsible for decision-making. As that decision center shrinks, the brain defaults to the dorsal striatum. This shift drives rigid, habitual behaviors instead of intentional choices. Managing stress is a strict biological necessity to maintain executive control over your actions. Once your internal hardware is optimized, you can execute the software to change others' behavior. The primary saboteur of external influence is the curse of knowledge. Acquiring deep expertise forces you to communicate in abstractions that novices cannot process. Consider the Stanford speech exercise. Students delivered polished presentations containing an average of 2.5 statistics per minute. 10 minutes later, audience retention dropped to near zero. Sharing data and delivering polished speeches does not create cognitive stickiness. To influence an audience, you must actively unlearn your expertise. The success framework provides the engineering standard required to make ideas survive and drive action. The first pillar is simple. This requires combining a core message with compact delivery. The final pillar is stories. An ICU nurse diagnosed a seizing infant by ignoring a perfectly functioning heart monitor and relying entirely on physical context. Stories function as mental flight simulators. They program the audience's brain with exact instructions on how to act during future high-stakes scenarios. If you want to drive human action, stop transmitting abstract data. Engineer concrete, sticky narratives. Protect your orbitofrontal cortex from stress and use compounding microhabits to force your brain into an upward spiral. Strip your communication to its absolute core and use concrete stories to build cognitive flight simulators for your audience. Influence and mental resilience are structural outputs. You must actively engineer them, inside and out.